mommy, and me. She shows me how to read and write under the beam of a light bulb or by the flame of an oil lamp. I can choose any color pencil for my sinewy words, unblinking. She treasures each one like a jewel. I used to be a teacher, she says. That was before I left Santo Domingo and went to Nueva York. Now we are back on the island, but I am her only student. Her lessons propel me past first grade. Between my rainbow vowels, she weaves in her prickly recollections of turbulent times with the nuns. I didn't graduate until I was 20, she says. I'm just not made for books. Her voice echoes in the cove of memory. She's taking back those lost years. Grades she repeated, giving them to me in blossoms of letters. So I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, but then my parents sent me back to live with my grandparents because my mother and father had planned to have us in the Dominican Republic. They wanted to raise their family there, and but they didn't have quite enough money, and they never quite had enough money, and so I was there with my grandparents, and then they brought me back, as I told you about in the first poem. And then my sister was born, and then my brother was on the way, and my mother was like, no, we have to go. But my father stayed here. And so we lived there for about 3 years. And during that time, I was going to school, but I remember loving to not go to school. I wanted to go with her to work. And at the time, she worked at the post office. I want to help her sort mail, perched on the countertop between two walls of post office boxes. She shows me how to divide envelopes into stacks by cities, by names, by sizes, surrounded by boxes, bundles, cartons, containers, all with stamps that mesmerize me. I imagine the stories inside. Will they ever reach their reader? We never use the Dominican Postal Service. It's not to be trusted. It can take months. Our messages are given to family, friends, traveling to where our loved ones live. Still, we fumble through enwrapped tales, organize, separate, direct them through walls of cells, giant honeycombs. I imagine the words gush thick like nectar and linger on lips. Thank you. So I have a complex relationship with my mother, and this next poem kind of goes into that. Modelo. Number 1. On our weekend mornings, I play at her dresser, probe through pouches of lipstick samples in every shade of red, peek into drawers filled with black and white pictures dated from the 40s to the 60s. Sometimes you sit by my side and name the faces before me. But what I treasure most are photographs of you at your first communion, 15th birthday, graduation, portrait upon portrait of you looking over left shoulder, facing the side, or staring off in the distance. I used to model when I was young, you say. Everyone loved my legs. I take a print in my hand. You stand with right hand on waist. I imagine the colors of the flower print dress you wore. Hem just below the knee featured curvy calves. You walked along a horizon of men. While you stare at the image of you, of your younger self, a smile forms. You relive that moment when men glanced at you with lust and women glared in envy. 2. I am a virreina, a 5-year-old vice queen without territory, dressed in colors of the Dominican flag, white ruffled blouse, skirt layered in red and blue. You powder my face, turn my lips and cheeks cheerfully pink. Sweet sash hangs from right shoulder to left hip, pronouncing my royalty. At the school playground, I step into a convertible car and stand on the back seat, waving to the luminous crowd in the vulgar heat. But when I review those photographs, I'm not proud of what I see. A face perplexed with furrowed brow, as if I was trying to solve an equation in that blazing sun. You try to instill in me that pleasure you relish while posing for the camera. And in the future, I'll collect snapshots of you in U.S. cities and in Santo Domingo, hand pointing softly to a lake, a bridge, or a trolley. I'll click away at the landscape without the need to include myself in the frame. I think I am unlike you, not experiencing joy when finding a purse to match perfectly with shoes. You'll reprimand me because I never accessorize, even wear a skirt sometimes without clean-shaven legs. 3. Many years later, when I work in theater, my comfort in front of the camera will grow. Makeup artists will fuss over my features the way you did when I was 5. I'll send you copies of my headshots. You'll display them on walls, beam at them as you did those weekend mornings when we sifted through your dresser drawers. On a visit, I'll watch you straighten the picture with such care. That is how I'll feel your love. This is one of my fun poems. Slippery seeds. You have to spit out the pits, adults said, and spun elaborate tales of seeds making their way down my insides. I imagined them buried at belly bottom, buds in my depths as I ate chinolas, limones, guayabas, melones especially. Altering digestions and dreams where fruit orchards burst to life within me, invasive, like amapola trees introduced to Hispaniola Island, hazardous now to native plant species. A single slip of the tongue could lead me to the tomb. It's always good to have a little light poem in there every once in a while. So now I'm going to read you a series of poems about my dad. And like I said before, when we were living in New Jersey, so we moved back to the Dominican Republic, and it was just my mom, my sister, and I. My brother was born there during the 3 years that we lived there. But they didn't quite have enough money, so my dad stayed in New Jersey and kept working. From New Jersey. It's Christmas time in Santo Domingo. We expect your arrival before Nochebuena, but we await for El Dia de los Reyes. Caravans of camels with magi on their backs. We'll see the parade without you in January heat from a balcony above Avenida Mella, days after your departure. As you open the door with your luggage in tow, I race to the front screaming, "Papi, papi, papi." Melissa and Francisco in my wake, your arms unfurl like wings to the 3 of us. This is your landing. In the whirls of your welcome, Uncle parks his car at the foot of our driveway. Cousins run to him screaming, "Papi, papi, papi," echoes of our notes. Yet they see him every morning for breakfast, watch him eat his favorite bread with honey, at home, only 3 miles away. In days less than a week, we collect moments together under our skin as succulents collect water to survive the long dry spells. When you return to New Jersey, we can only be consoled by the coming of the kings. For a week, awaken with bites from mosquitoes, small flames on ankles for him to extinguish. I run to their room, find he's no longer sleeping. Warm sheets whisper, he was just here. Mommy on her side points to their bathroom. I weave through the clutter spilling from gray suitcases, familiar and hostile. Surrounded by yellow tiles, he stands in white briefs, cream on his face. My eyes quiver at the sight of his flush, anticipate lashings, but he left his temper in New Jersey. Hanging in the closet between navy blue shirts, there, where impatience lies on the floor next to the steel-toed boots. His smile welcomes me to the wall-length mirror. In between strokes, he speaks to my reflection, asks about sleep and dreams until his blade reveals the last strip of hidden skin. My heels scratch the unbearable itch. As he dabs menthol across my welts, I describe a hatred for oatmeal. I want eggs for breakfast, I say. Imagine them fried on my plate, 2 suns in billowy clouds. All right, he says. 7 days, too short for discord. We mend our lives together again, knowing the stitches will come undone in a week. With Papi in another country. No one else knew to soothe my upset stomach with oregano infusions. When infections seized my chest, I missed his mix of honey, garlics, onions, and limon. And when I fell from monkey bars, blacked out, woke up, I hoped to see his face above instead of sizzling sun. To feel his hands beneath my head, collecting blood. At each sunset, I longed for him to be at our door, calling me in for the evening. I wanted to point out the moths and ask, why do they fly towards the light of the street lamps? I wanted him here every night, brewing tea de hierba buena y manzanilla to ease me into the darkness. So now, these are a series of poems about David, and you'll find out who David is soon. His name was David. He was the reason everything changed, why my life didn't go as planned. Not that I had plans for myself at that age. I had just turned 6. But my parents had plans for me, for my sister, for my brother, for my family. He arrived in 1979, 16 days after my birthday. I should have told him, you are not welcome here. Go back. Across the ocean you've traveled. Go back. You don't belong. But I was a little girl, and he was bigger than a string of words around